It's the big one, the Champions League final, Tottenham versus Liverpool in Madrid. New territory for Spurs. Liverpool were here last season. It's all to play for. Let's take a look at the key issues ahead of the game and analyse the tactical approach both teams will take. This is the 7th time that two clubs from the same country would have faced each other for the trophy. And the 2nd time, it's an all-Premier League affair. Tottenham are the designated home side, so we'll take a look at them first. Liverpool stats and tactics coming up after, so stick around for that. Spurs are ranked 2nd in the Champions League this season for dribbles per game, with an average of 11.8 per 90 minutes. That's only 0.1 a dribble behind PSG. Lucas Moura contributes the most for Spurs with 2.8 in his 8 starts and 3 sub appearances so far. Expect him to see running with the ball if he starts this final. Despite being the boo boys for some Spurs fans this season, Christian Eriksen has 4 assists so far in the Champions League and needs 1 more to be joint top assist maker this season, with Jordi Alba and Kylian Mbappe on 5. Mauricio Pochettino says he wants a picture of his 23-man squad together on the pitch before the game, rather than a traditional starting 11 picture, to emphasise the importance of the squad for this game, not just the starting 11. He has some tough decisions to make based on the fitness of his players, especially Harry Kane. Kane hasn't played since April the 9th, but at the time of recording, he says he's fit to play. Since then, Son and Moura have guided the team to the final. Both would be upset if they were left out. Poch has generally been positive on the chances of Kane playing. He's also mentioned Sanchez, Winks and Vertonghen being at a similar stage of the recovery from injuries, highlighting that he will make the best decision to win. In an interesting moment in his pre-match press conference, Poch says that it's not him or Klopp who's going to decide the game, or even their tactics, but who controls their emotions best out on the pitch. So let's dive into the Spurs tactics. Pochettino for this game needs to set Spurs up in the 4-4-1-1. Basic tactics, old school Pochettino, but will catch Liverpool out. In the recent league game between both Liverpool and Spurs, we saw Spurs play a back 3 that moved into a back 5, had a 3-man midfield and Lucas Moura just off Harry Kane. The issues were big for Spurs, especially out wide. They couldn't deal with the marauding runs of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson. Pochettino did switch the formation because he noticed this. He moved Eriksen to the right wing, Sissoko partnered Ali in the middle and Lucas Moura pulled out wide, pretty much putting Spurs into what looks like a 5-4-1 formation. This dealt with, of course, the 2 marauding wing-backs, but then Roberto Firmino took control of the game, operating in the space between Spurs lines. So Pochettino again made an adjustment at half-time, switched up, moved Lucas Moura to attack in midfield, Danny Rose to left midfield, shuffled his back 4 over, and of course went for that 4-4-1-1 that we mentioned before. And started to open up Liverpool, created a number of massive opportunities. Arguably, they should have scored 3 in that second half. Eriksen missed a big chance, and so did Harry Kane. The question for Pochettino, though, is who starts up front? Is it going to be Harry Kane, who's been out injured, or Heung-Min Son? The interesting side could be to play 2 mobile forward players that can rotate positions, that can get in behind. The pair could be really good in terms of their mobility, pulling wide, making the runs in behind, but also coming short. Both players capable at dribbling at Liverpool. One of the big things when you play a Jurgen Klopp side, that gegenpress, players that are really good 1v1, like Son, like of course Lucas Moura, could really get at that back 4, and you could argue that starting Harry Kane on the bench could be a good option. But it is expected to maybe Heung-Min Son to start on the bench and be an impact substitution, which could work quite well. We've seen his energy be so good and uplift Spurs. He came off the bench at Anfield and Spurs scored 1 minute later. The other selections that we could see as well, potentially a more defensive-minded midfield if the likes of Eric Dyer wants to come in there and sit and try and cover the back 4, blocking off that space for Firmino could be an option, but I'd argue that Dele Alli and Sissoko were actually really good in central midfield when they were positioned there. Other options, of course, Victor Wanyama, Harry Winks could be thrown into defensive midfield, but I expect this to be the system and shape that's played from the start. Of course, Harry Kane is coming back from injury, so a guy that could be brought on to replace him, a direct sort of like-for-like player, could be the main man up top, Fernando Llorente. The big thing that Spurs did against Ajax is they simply bypassed Ajax's press and hit the centre forward, and then the centre forward would play off to the midfield runners, and that could be a solution for Pochettino if Liverpool start to sit a bit deeper, if they start getting to be that position in the game where they can counter-attack, get on Llorente, go long over Liverpool like Man United did last season under Jose Mourinho. When asked about playing another English club, Jurgen Klopp said, "It's a proper European final, nothing else." With 3 weeks to prepare for the game, Klopp says that he would have known everything about any club they would have played, whether Premier League or not. In a season where Liverpool made no secret of their desire to win the Premier League, ending with their second consecutive Champions League final is an impressive achievement. Klopp thinks that his team is nothing like the one that took to the final in Kiev last season, that it's developed into an entirely different beast. This was shown by the incredible comeback in the semi-final from 3-0 down against Barcelona. On the injury front, Klopp says there's no chance for Naby Keita to play, but the Roberto Firmino should be fine. Liverpool's front three all have 4 goals each in the Champions League this season, and it'll be really interesting to see who comes out top of that particular stat come the end of this game. Trent Alexander-Arnold is their top assister this season with 3 in the competition. So let's dive into the Liverpool tactics. First up, Liverpool, of course, are going to play 4-3-3 in the final. Klopp's played that all season. The key components of his team, though, has slightly changed. The big introduction that we saw from last season is the use of Fabinho in defensive midfield. His ability to cover the space that the fullbacks vacate is incredibly impressive in the transition from attack to defence. Liverpool now do attack with their fullbacks in the final third. They fly up the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson, get into that final third, and then they deliver the balls into the box for the front three. 26% of Liverpool's goals in the Premier League this year have been created by fullback. Fabinho's introduction in that position has been vitally important with that. Before last season, they were playing 3 shuttlers. Now they have 1 pure defensive midfielder and 2 shuttlers, really getting the best out of what Jurgen Klopp's got. The other side, of course, is Alisson in goal, a massive change. Last season, we saw Karius make 2 howlers against Real Madrid, and that cost them the game. Now they have one of the best goalkeepers in European football in between the sticks, so expect him to come up trumps. But it is about fullbacks, it's about Fabinho, and it's about the front three. Of course, it's slightly changed this season. You've got a little bit more movement from Mane. Last season, it was more Mohamed Salah would drive into the penalty area, Mane would drop off a little bit with Firmino, and they both look to get on the ball. Now we've got it slightly different. Mohamed Salah continues to make those runs in behind, but he's joined by Mane, arguably dropping Liverpool to a 4-4-2 diamond, with Firmino linking the play in the hole, and he caused Tottenham a lot of problem in that first half. They did adjust and negate that threat, but it was a big threat for the likes of Davinson Sanchez, Alderweireld and Vertonghen. So it's time for the key battles of the game. There's 3 areas that we're going to look at. First up, it's out wide. Then we're going to look at the build-up for Tottenham Hotspur when they're in possession. And then finish things off with Harry Kane and Heung-Min Son versus Fabinho and the 2 Liverpool centre-halves. First up, out wide, Liverpool's fullbacks, as we mentioned before, are vitally important in that final third. What Tottenham need to do is drop back into a really deep and narrow 4-4-2 shape. As Liverpool's attackers, get into the final third, they do narrow. What Spurs need to do in terms of a reaction to that is drop their midfield, block the passing lanes into the feet of any of those forwards. Trent Alexander-Arnold will fly forward, and same with Andy Robertson. Liverpool will look to create this shape that looks a little bit like a 2-3-5 system. In terms of how Liverpool have created on the flanks, there's been a number of things. Either a wide player will drop into that wide zone, there'll be some combination play, then the ball will be crossed into the box. Or alternatively, it'll be a central midfielder moving into that zone and the 3 moving into a shape that looks like a 2-1. They push 2 centre forwards up until the 6-yard line, and they've 1 sitting on the penalty area. This has caused a number of problems for teams. It's opened up a lot of crossing opportunities. You can hit the near post, you can hit the far post, but you can also hit a cutback. What Spurs need to do is just stop the cross. Danny Rose did it really well when he was moved to this left wing position against Tottenham at Anfield, and expecting to do a similar job against Liverpool in the final. Shuttling, working hard, looking for those interceptions, of course, quick getting over the ground. Arguably can coach them in before they can counter-attack through a Danny Rose interception. But that is the strength of Liverpool, and if Spurs don't deal with these fullbacks, Liverpool are simply going to win the game at a canter. So let's move on to the second key battle of the game, and that is Spurs in possession. Liverpool pressed them really, really well at Anfield, especially in the first half. Spurs' build-up in that situation was a 3-3-1-3. This caused them a lot of problems because it meant Liverpool's press absolutely destroyed them. If Spurs were to look to move the ball to let's say the left centre half, there'd be pressure instantly. Firmino would come over, Mohamed Salah would block the pass, you'd have one of the midfielders looking to put pressure on Sissoko, and Spurs basically couldn't press out. You take the first Liverpool goal that they scored was a result of that. They forced Hugo Lloris into a really poor clearance, then scored off the next possession. Pochettino did adjust this in the second half, and Spurs were fantastic. It was some slight tactical tweaks. We'll reset Liverpool back into their 4-3-3 pressing shape. The 2 central midfielders, of course Mane on the wing, and Firmino back into the middle. The slight tactical tweak from Spurs was with their system. They replaced a number of players in different systems. You had Vertonghen played more as a left back, and the two centre-backs would move over. Danny Rose was a lot higher. You had Dele Alli dropping deep next to Sissoko, and of course Eriksen on the right-hand side, and you had Lucas Moura dropping off a little bit. What this created for Spurs was a really, really good shape in terms of playing out. Not only did they now have two defensive midfielders, so they had passing lanes into there, but their midfield four worked really well in almost a trapezium where the diagonal passes into the feet of the striker were on now, whereas before they weren't. Liverpool could simply move over, close that space down and cut off those angles. Now with this sort of build-up 3-2-4-1 shape, they could play out, and Tottenham created a number of good opportunities, including their goal that they scored. That came from a pass from Vertonghen after they worked the ball in really good 3 or 4 possession phases, fired it into his feet, he got fouled, played it around the corner, Trippier drops the ball to Eriksen, and then of course Spurs score. And that's what Pochettino needs to do from the start. Start this shape 3-2-4-1 in possession. And finally, we've got to talk about Spurs' counter-attack. Vitally important in this game. We mentioned before that Liverpool do stack their fullbacks high up the pitch. This opened up big space for Spurs to break into. Of course, in the league game, Firmino wasn't playing, and I really think that he is going to be the key guy to deal with Lucas Moura, Harry Kane, and then Heung-Min Son when he comes on. I think Heung-Min Son shouldn't start, but should come on off the bench. The importance of having someone that's fresh, that can dribble at a pressing team, vitally important. I think Danny Rose should be in there from the start on the left wing to defend, and then Son should come on to break. Could either be brought on for Lucas Moura in a straight swap, putting him as a striker, which what Spurs did really well in the last few sort of moments of the game, breaking with those two, and could be a really vitally important sort of player for this game. I expect him to come off the bench and score the winner. Fabinho is the only guy that can protect them, so it's vitally important for him to be shuttling out, to either be dropping into the centre halves, to just be protecting them. He needs to do his best Casemiro impressions that he can ever do in a game. This is massive for him. If he deals with the threat on the counter-attack, Liverpool win the game. It's as simple as that. But anyway, guys, my score prediction for this game is going to be a 3-2 win for Spurs, or a comfortable 3-0 win for Liverpool. It's going to go either way. Control with Liverpool easy through the line, or Spurs on the break. But anyway, guys, that has been the tactical preview for the big one, the Champions League final, Spurs versus Liverpool on Squawka Tactics. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the Squawka channel. We are so close to 50k. Make sure to hit that button to get us there. We've got lots of exciting things to come over the summer, documentaries, transfers, everything that is good in football. I've been Statman Dave. See you later.